Hello and welcome again to Casual Magic. I actually just want to give you a quick update on some of the stuff I got in Japan. I'm obviously not going to go over every card I got because I got a big huge stack and you don't need to be quite concerned with that. But I did get some cool stuff, and actually some of it is related to some of the stores that I've mentioned before, and I'm actually going to mention again in a video. But some of the good stores, again, I have point cards, so I'm a regular customer. Hararuya, definitely one that's got probably the biggest selection. Hobby Station, it's a big chain. They're damn near everywhere as far as I can tell. Toreka, it's another good one. It has definitely more than Magic, but definitely has a lot of cabinets and good selection. Yellow Submarine, very, very good store, and not only do they have trading cards, but they also have typically role-playing games. So a lot of times if you go to a Yellow Submarine, you'll see on one floor it's all trading cards, but then on another floor it's all role-playing games and some of the larger board games like Axis and Allies and Catan and so on. It's a really cool store. I really enjoy going there. And last but not least, shout out to the guys at Tokyo MTG. Finally made it there for the first time, and it's a smaller store, has a playing area. It doesn't have like a huge open amount of cabinets sitting around everywhere, but they do have a decent sized inventory, computers where you can check stuff online just like Hararuya, and reasonable prices. And they do have some boxes with a few items, and I did get a few cards out of there, which I want to show you at least one special one. Okay, so among the things that I got, I just kind of went through and I picked out a few things, just basically one of each color, just to kind of show you an example. There are some things that are found in bargain bins which people just pass by. For whatever reason, they're not interested. They don't play Commander nearly as much in Japan as they do in the US. And so there's a lot of older cards that aren't necessarily that sought after. And likewise, there are some cards that, because there's not necessarily the local meta that's playing using those cards, as a result, there are some that just kind of fall by the wayside in some stores and are insanely cheap. So I'm going to show you these as an example of some of the ones that I got. And again, this isn't everything. This isn't necessarily the best things, but these are just some of the generic ones that I got and I could quickly find in my stack for this video. So to start off, this beautiful island from Lorwyn. And I just bought it for 20 yen for the art. And actually for this video, I guess instead of saying yen, I'll just say the values in American dollars, because once you figure in, I had to pay the price in yen, add 8% for sales tax, and then take off 7 to 8% because of the exchange rate. It just basically works out. So tell you what, I'll just say it in dollars. I spent 20 cents on this card. TCG mid player price $1.33, just because of the art. Next, for a white card, Crackdown. 2 and a white, it's an enchantment. Non-white creatures with power 3 or greater don't untap during their controller's untap steps. This is a great way to be a jerk against my friend's Ulamog deck. Paid $1, TCG mid price $3.37. Next up, a good one for Commander, Spelljack. 3 and 3 blue, it's an instant, counter target spell. If it's countered this way, remove it from the game instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. As long as it remains, I think I say that right, as long as it remains removed from the game, you may play it as though it were in your hand without paying its mana cost. If it has X in its mana cost, X is 0. So you don't have to use the spell right away, you can actually just hang on to it. So that's also a very, very cool ability. That one, 60 cents, and TCG mid, $3.41. Next up, a really great one for black, just for fun, especially red and black. Mind Slicer. 2 and 2 black. It's a horror creature. When Mind Slicer is put into a graveyard from play, each player discards his or her hand. Fun way to screw up a game. Love that one. That's a nice bargain bin one. 20 yen, or 20 cents, and it goes TCG mid $5.58. So lucking out with that one. Actually, I need to get a tiny bit more space here to jam in a couple more cards. Next up, Zozu the Punisher, an old Kamigawa card, 1 and 2 red, legendary creature Goblin Warrior, though I'm not sure if I'd play it as a commander, but it could be interesting. Whenever a land comes into play, Zozu the Punisher deals 2 damage to that land's controller. So, pretty interesting. It's 80 cents. Paid, and TCG mid $2.49. Next up, a great one that I've seen mentioned before, Parallel Evolution. It's 3 and 2 green for sorcery. For each creature token in play, its controller puts a creature token into play that's a copy of that creature. And it has flashback for 4 and 3 green. And then you exile it. This is definitely going in my Trostani deck. That makes tokens all day long. This is perfect for a token strategy. Paid $1, TCG mid, $4. And moving on to an artifact, Jester's Cap, which is 4 of anything, 2 of anything, and tap Sacrifice Jester's Cap to look through target player's library and remove any 3 of those cards, remove any of those 3 cards from the game, reshuffle that library afterwards. So, this is also going to be fun against my friend who's got a black deck that just basically tutors through, finds whatever cool combo pieces he needs, and then wins the game. And if he can't find those pieces, he basically does nothing. So if I can get this out in a commander game, I can specifically go through, pick out those combo pieces, and he's done. That's it. So if you're playing against someone you know, and you know their deck, and it's one of those, turn 4, turn 5 combo I win decks, Jester's Cap is a great way to screw it up. So highly recommend it. Paid $1. And TCG mid, $1.98. So, a little bit of value there. Out of these cards, I paid $4.80. TCG mid player price, or TCG player mid price, $22.16. And that's just a few. That's just kind of some that I just picked off that were, some of the better looking ones. I do have some that were worth more. Actually, hang on. Alright, finally got them back. So instead of paying $37 each, I paid basically $25 each for the ever-annoying Sliver Queen and Sliver Legion. Which little by little over the years I'm building up a Sliver deck just with a bunch of little random cards that I'm getting. Kind of getting to that point that I think I can build one in EDH. It's not quite there yet, but definitely these two will get me a little bit closer. And to be honest, for paying $25 each instead of $37 each, kind of couldn't pass them up. So those are a couple more that were great deals. Now, one other fun thing that I got that I'm just kind of a sucker for, a lot of times if I see signed cards, I'll get them. I won't necessarily know if the card is really worth anything. I don't know if the artist is necessarily that famous, other than a couple, but I just buy them. Just out of habit, if I randomly come across one, I'll buy it. This time I actually found quite a few. Magus of the Jar by Zoltan Boros and Gabor Siksai. Chixai. Overpaid, but yeah, I like it. Rivalry by Brian Snoddy. Merfolk Sovereign by Jesper Edgesing, which is definitely going to get used. Rofello's Gift by Pete Venters. No, definitely a good one that's going to replace another one in a commander deck. Niv Mizzet the Firemind by Todd Lockwood with fancy gold ink. I don't know who got that sign, but good job. That's a beautiful card made even more beautiful. And finally, one that I am kind of the most proud of, and I think from what I remember, this came from Tokyo MTG. I could be wrong, but I think that's where it came from. And honestly, I know I'm probably never going to actually use this card, but I'm going to have to maybe try it at some point, you know, if I'm playing in some sort of tournament or something, just because this sentimentally has some sort of value now, which, yeah, I'll just show you. It's Craw Giant, signed by none other than Christopher Rush, who sadly passed away last year. You remember him as the guy who made the painting for Black Lotus and a lot of other Magic cards. This just happens to be one that was signed by him that's sitting in a bin, basically for 50 cents. I couldn't be more ecstatic about this card. I mean, when I saw this, it was just basically, you know, just an audible gasp, and, you know, just looking around quickly to see if anyone noticed me, because awesome. I can't express how cool it was to actually see a signed Christopher Rush card, just to have one. Now, yeah, I mean, I know it's not Black Lotus, but still, it's cool, and especially now that he's passed away and he's not obviously signing cards ever again. Definitely cool to have. So that's some of the better stuff that I got when I was in Japan. Again, I got a giant stack. Definitely got more than my money's worth. Had a ton of fun. Went to a lot of stores. And it's a great place. And I'm going to be making another video at some point in the near future here. A lot of you have probably seen my previous video on where to buy Magic cards in Tokyo. I have a few more places, so I'm going to make another video and give you an additional update. Tokyo MTG, definitely one of those places that's going on there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I can only hope that you guys have as good of luck looking for treasures as I do. But at least locally, I hope you do poorly and leave plenty of treasure for me. Thanks! And until next time, good luck.
When I saw this, it was just basically